5 Fingers Initiation by Joshua Raven. Read by Joshua Raven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. Chapter 1. It was midnight on the last day of term. The end of the world had come and gone, and Rachel Race had survived. So many emotions hit you when everything that is familiar comes to an end, even the things you hate, or the things that bore you, like revision or double maths. She lay in her bed, weightless, staring at the spectral moon. There were no clouds, just a black sky, which was riddled with stars. The glow from a distant streetlight touched the objects in her room. In the summertime, Rachel preferred to leave her curtains open, so that she could feel the breeze on her face. It had been some years since she had really been scared of the dark. It was, in fact, 7 years. This was because 7 years ago her mother lay dead, and Rachel's world had dissolved into darkness. For Rachel, her mother Mariam had been the most beautiful woman in the world. Mariam had indeed been beautiful. Born and raised in the lush green countryside of southern India, she had radiated sunshine throughout her life. Although Rachel had never visited her mother's hometown, its landscape was so familiar to her. The stories her mum had told her made it all so vivid. She felt as though she knew every building and every hill that her mother knew. As Rachel gazed at the night sky, she pictured her mum's big smiling eyes which Rachel had inherited. Not a day went by when she did not think of her mum. Does the pain ever go away? For her dad, the pain had never gone away. It was a long time since she had heard the story of how her parents had met. He never spoke of it now. He was a young, fresh-faced English teacher from Birmingham, England, working abroad. His work had taken him to southern India. There the sun was lemon yellow and hot all the time, and the vibrant colours made you dizzy. When he laid eyes on Rachel's mother, his heart raced. But that was all a very long time ago, and Rachel no longer knew that man. She now shared a house with a stranger, a shadow of his old self, and she feared him. Rachel had lived her whole life in the seaside city of Grifton in the south of England. In city terms it was small. An escarpment overlooked the city from the north, which the locals fondly called Grifton Cliff. A long line of beach edged the southern part. Tall buildings rose from the centre, with the city council buildings, Grifton College, the cathedral and various businesses forming the highest silhouettes. Circling these was row upon row of houses. Rachel's house lay in a nondescript row of a nondescript suburb of Grifton. Number 42 Russet Road was tucked out of sight, somewhere on Grifton's east side. Tonight, her father Eddie Race lay snoring softly on the sofa, as the television winked and murmured. In her room, Rachel lay staring at the moon with her big brown eyes half closed. Around her face was a pool of wavy brown hair dyed blue at the tips. Conversations from the day returned to her mind. She was standing in the schoolyard with a group of school friends. "I can't believe it's over," cried one. "All those exams," exclaimed another. "I'm going to burn my coursework now," vowed Rachel. "No more maths ever again, and no more Mrs. Goyle." But amidst the euphoria of the end of term, real life was starting to break in. What are we meant to do now? What are any of us going to do now? I mean, I can't go to college. I reckon I've failed everything. And I don't know if I'm ready to work. Not properly, anyway, moaned Rachel. "Let's think about it tomorrow," said her best friend Laura Summer, soothingly. "Tonight, we celebrate." Later on, they went to their local pub, the Pirates' Paradise, where kids were allowed in as long as they behaved themselves and stuck to soft drinks. There, Rachel spoke to Laura, demanding, "What do you mean you're going away?" "I know I should have told you, H, but Dad didn't want anyone to know until it was all sorted. I'm sorry I didn't say, I really am. You see, Dad got a big job offer, and he wants us all to go with him, me, Mum and Joel, out to California. It was the sort of offer he couldn't turn down." "So you're leaving me," sighed Rachel. "I suppose I am," said Laura. "When are you going?" "Next month." Rachel's eyes glazed over as she gazed into an empty future. Laura and Rachel had been best friends forever. This was not going to be easy. Back in bed, through sleepy eyelids, Rachel saw a cloud pass over the moon. The trees in the garden rustled. Then she started to have that dream again. She dreamt of a long mountain range somewhere in the east, Perhaps it was in India or Tibet. These were, however, not places that she had been to. She had never actually left England, but these mountains were so familiar to her. She could count 12 spiky peaks, or maybe more. She saw hard ice covering sheer cliff faces. There were angular rocks and massive sheer drops. She saw angel white snow and grey and black rock peeking out from underneath the ice. The sky above was cold. She could see deep chasms. She could hear the treacherous wind. There was no life to be seen, just one abyss after another. Then she focused on one particular mountain. This one looked dangerous and impossible to climb. Death and darkness hung around it. Its peaks spoke of peril and pain. She stared hard at it. In the background, Rachel heard the mountain range rumbling. She slipped further into an uneasy sleep. In the early hours, Rachel Race felt a stabbing pain in her left hand. Instinctively, she grabbed her left hand with her right. Doubling over with pain, she rolled out of bed and onto the floor. Her hand felt like it was burning. A searing pain tore at her fingers. As she looked down under the glow of the distant streetlight, she saw the blood. There was so much blood. It covered everything. It pulsed from the stump of her little finger, soaking her duvet. Where on earth was her little finger? Helpless with pain, she clamped her right palm over the wound and screamed. There was a flutter of wings at the open window.